Alright guys, this is part 3 of my series in which I look over Beyond Earth and its various issues. This is actually take 2. Turns out I messed up my audio in the last take. Alright, let's get this started. Today's topics are 4 very little diplomacy, 5 uninspiring victory conditions, and 6 short games that encourage turtling. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit less knowledgeable on these topics and a little bit less passionate than the first 3. So this, in my opinion, may not be of as good quality as the last couple videos, but I'll do what I can and to kind of hit the major points and go into what could have been done. Alright, so in Civ 5, we're going to go through the same kind of comparison. In Civ 5, we have research agreements, which although they were quite I guess burdensome in that you had to get them to keep up on higher levels of difficulty, they were something that forced you to kind of interact with people and play nice. So in that aspect, they were valuable. And B did not have that. World Congress. Now, World Congress, obviously, you don't want to get banned out at the World Congress and lose all your luxuries. So again, that was something that was interesting. That was something that could give people boost here and there, and you wanted to be in control of it, and you got a benefit out of like being smart with it. Unfortunately, it's that also is not in BE, so it's not in there and doesn't come in and make the game interesting again. So I think it's something that'd be great that if they added in later. Defensive Pact. Well, I believe that was similar to the Alliance, although that one. I mean, I'm guessing the defensive pact is only if you get attacked. So I mean, if you attack yourself, that may not do anything. But either way, similar in with the alliance idea in B. So B had the same thing going there. Luxury trading. So the fact that there were luxuries in Civ 5 made it a lot more interesting. B has no luxuries. It has a couple things here and there that help boost you, but it has no luxuries, and that makes it difficult to fight over things again, and that makes it less important to deal with others because you may not really care for these luxuries. So maybe B could have done something about that and had something very valuable that could be traded, and that would not be a strategic resource like Floatstone, Firaxite, or Xenomass, and that would help make trading more valuable and hence make the diplomacy more valuable. But they didn't do that, so it ended up basically B diplomacy just ended up like looking like a worse version of Civ 5 diplomacy. So Civ 5 diplomacy already on its own wasn't like the most amazing thing ever made, so it just ended up being a worse version of it. They unfortunately never had a victory condition associated with this as well in Civ Beyond Earth, so being diplomatic is even less important. Uninspiring victory conditions. Now all these, I'll go quick, but all these are build and defend. Build, tech up, defend, or tech up, build, and defend. That's 4 out of 5 of these. The only one that's standard is domination. Now they could have done more. The Promised Land could have been, a victory where you have like more interaction on the map, more where you get reinforcements from Earth and you get to do something with those, or perhaps you build some sort of great wonder to celebrate like humanity's heritage, and it's massive. It's on the map. On top of that, like maybe if you made the victories a multiple step process that took more than just like settling these couple guys, and you had something else to do, like I think it would be more interesting. And I think that the Promised Land victory would be okay if it was the one defensive type victory. Now I'm not saying that it should be defensive in that like all you have to do is defend. I think like the fact that you have to go out and settle new lands is important, but there should be more of like expanding a little bit and defending to make it more risky. See what I mean? So maybe you have to like clear out a whole area for a big wonder to Earth or something, and then you have to build and you do that after building all those cities with all the humans. Like maybe you combine all of that like into like a step process, then maybe you could have a victory that's a little bit more interesting and takes a little bit more time to complete, and that way you could feel more accomplishment when you finally reached it. And it makes sense with Purity to win in a defensive manner. Their units are very defensive, they're very reserved, so they're not the kind of units that want to go out and conquer as much as Supremacy would. So that would make sense. Um, Transcendence, I think, is a little bit of a wild card. I mean, you have the whole Mind Flower thing, but I think that one could be interesting if the Mind Flower had you kind of try to take over the world in some harmonious way, or take over a great deal of the world, um, and kind of achieve transcendence that way. So I think that transcendence would have to I guess help influence the map in a way that fits in with harmony. So and I think that all of these victories need to interact with the map to keep it interesting. Just grinding away at points is very boring. So having some sort of map interaction, no matter what it is, I think is very important. And the Promised Land, you could even have something like you build a wall around every hex of your territory, or something like that. Build a great wall to kind of keep those disgusting aliens out. Something like that. I would like that. That would be fun. So I think that would be interesting, definitely. And then you kind of have a great wall around your base at the end. Emancipation. Now this one, I would say you could go and conquer Earth, and later you could get quite a few reinforcements, and perhaps this emancipation could be kind of like a domination victory, or you could have something where you need to spread the kind of the ways of supremacy to other places, and eventually if you do enough of that, there can be kind of an uprising of supremacy uprising, and you can just help take over the entire world. So you can kind of tip the scales, kind of like a culture victory in a way, but you'd have to do it in a more interesting way. Maybe you could spread your influence to various cities, and then you'd have to if you took over the cities, you'd free all those people that are following the supremacy ideology, and they would help give you more soldiers based on the city's population, and you could just spread through. And once you've taken enough like cities out, something like that, then you'd get a victory out of it. So it'd be different it'd be slightly different in domination. So that could be something interesting, and you could do different things with that, but that would be interesting. Just kind of getting that whole horde mentality that supremacy has. We're all together, we're working together, we fight stronger together, and we'll take over everything together, kind of ideology. So I think extending these to more steps would be more interesting. Contact, I think, is the lamest one. Just sit there, and it's very random, and it does not involve you very much. And yeah, so I'd say that one should just be changed into kind of a progenitor one, and kind of rework the whole architecture idea, digging into the ground, and kind of the idea that I'm having here is to have a progenitor affinity, which is something that could be done in the future. And I know that somebody's actually posted that, so it's not my idea. It was somebody else who posted it on Civ Fanatics. But yeah, you have a progenitor affinity. That was his idea, and he talked about it a little bit. But what I was going to say was essentially, you'd have to kind of dig up progenitor things and kind of gain momentum, and eventually call the progenitors to your aid, and have a victory tied to that. I don't know how that one would go exactly, but contacting them could be one of the earlier steps, and later having them come down, or having them help you in some way, shape, or form would be nice. Especially if, again, this map interactivity. That is the important point. So yeah, there could be something to do there. I don't know how it all shape or form in the end. I'm really not sure, but there is a way to do this, and it would be interesting. I think there's a lot of options with the progenitors. Then we have and then what I would do is just make a new science victory. I don't know what that one would be, but it would perhaps be that one would be a little bit staler one, perhaps. But you could maybe build some massive wonder and have I'm not sure. I'm just thinking off the top of my head here, but maybe you could build some massive wonder, and it would help you do something that humanity's never thought of before, something like that, and it would just go and do its own thing. But yeah, that one would probably be one of the more stale ones. and I'm not exactly sure how you would go about it. Maybe you could have some massive wonder, and you'd have to improve a whole bunch of tiles to help power that wonder and then achieve something. You could have something like that. I mean, that one would be it'd be a little bit boring, and it would unfortunately kind of go with the whole build and defend theme. So that'd be unfortunate. But that's just an idea. I mean, you can always add more to it. But in the end, a science victory is, build things here and there, and then kind of sit there. So that wouldn't be out of the ordinary, and it'd be a different way to do things. Another issue is short games that encourage turtling. So a lot of victories come at affinity level 13, and the contact victory happens even earlier. So that causes science to be even more powerful than it was in Civ 5. In Civ 5, you could be ahead a little bit, but if somebody had a lot of units, you could be in trouble, depending on the situation. So in Beyond Earth, unfortunately, it takes there's a lot of time between you getting upgraded units, but being able to just bum rush a victory makes the game so much easier to just sit there. Like, it's harder to stop 7 or 8 people from winning than it is to just sit there and win. So the strategy has been sit there and win. But in Civ 5, it's like, no, you take a couple cities, you get way more powerful, and you have still a lot of turns before anybody's going to be achieving a victory. So you can be confident in that, like, if you keep that snowball going, pretty soon you're going to be destroying everyone. So the issue with Beyond Earth is that people can achieve victories early, and then you don't have time to kill them before they achieve their victory, and you've lost. So that's kind of the issue there with these short victories. It's just you're more likely to win by turtling. Yeah, and this comes down to with the beelining to all the different affinity texts. I mean, people just want to just find the shortest route to winning because that is a viable strategy. You lengthen that route, and that doesn't become a viable strategy anymore. That's why I went back to the wonders and everything, and I said, you have to lengthen that. That's it for today, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you in a bit. I'll try to get the 4th episode out soon. I can't wait to work on Rising Tide and talk about that, and maybe work on some other things with other people who are interested Civ people. But for now, I'll be doing this my own way until I feel comfortable with working with somebody else. Because these kinds of topics I want to discuss like very specifically on my own, and then on different things I may work with others, but for now I'll be focusing on my view of things because I really believe in my view of these things and how to solve them. Have a great day.